Do you want to learn all about knives from top to tip? You want to be so confident that you can do this blindfolded? Stick with us and we'll show you how. Get me. Ooh, this is a long one. Hey, 10 fingers. All right, I still have 10 fingers. Do you? Show me 10 fingers. That's 5. Show me 10 fingers.
5 and then 10.
Okay, we all have our fingers, so that's good. And we're gonna keep it that way as we teach everyone watching here today about the 4 most important knives that every chef should have in their home kitchens or in their kits. What ones that I use here at home, what ones you're going to be using here in the next videos, how to take care of them, and a few extra little things while we're at it. So if you want to see more, go ahead and like and subscribe, press that bell notification so every time we post something new, you'll be the first to get it. So the first and most important knife in a chef's kit is the
Chef knife.
It is the chef knife, and it is named the chef knife for that reason exactly, that the chef uses it every single day. It is the most important knife that a chef can own. It is the workhorse of the kitchen. Now, my chef knife is built just like everyone else's. It has a handle, a spine, a tip, a point, a very sharp cutting edge, the heel, and then what's this one called, Xander?
The butt.
The butt. The butt is the back end of the knife. It does have a use for more than just a little bit of laughs. So, next, we have, what is this one?
That one is a boning knife or a butcher's knife.
Exactly, it's a boning knife or a butcher's knife. This one looks different. It's much, much, much thinner, still just as sharp, has a very, very sharp point, but the heel on this one is a little bit longer. And that is to keep my hands safe when I'm holding the knife blade, or excuse me, I don't hold the knife blade, that would hurt. I hold the knife handle, but the heel there helps so that way my hand does not slip over the blade when my hand gets slippery when I'm cutting down a chicken or a piece of beef or fish.
Ouch.
Next, I think you said this is your favorite one, Xander.
My personal favorite.
What is this one called?
A little tiny paring knife.
A little tiny paring knife, but don't let its size fool you because we can do all things no matter whether we're big or small, right? I use this almost as much as my chef knife too at work or at home because there are just certain jobs that I can't get into with the chef knife where it's too big. I personally love cutting lemons with this. Small cherry tomatoes out of our garden.
Oh, my favorite.
It's just as sharp, but it's just a little bit smaller. So, lastly, and our 4th most important knife is the
shredding knife something.
It is a serrated slicing knife. So it has teeth on the cutting edge instead of a sharp flat blade. And the teeth here are used mostly to bite into something like the crust of a sourdough bread or to cut through a very soft fleshed tomato. For instance, ones that we grow in our garden, the big slicing tomatoes, where a chef knife may not do the job because it wants to push it down. The serrated slicing knife, you're actually sawing back and forth, and those teeth will bite through hard crusts or very soft objects. Now, a bonus knife that a lot of people have in their homes that you'll see too is a Santoku knife. It is in itself a chef knife. It just has a blunted tip. The point is still the same, but that blunted tip makes it very much different from the chef knife. This one also has a scalloped edge on it. The scalloped edge is there to help release whatever it is that you're cutting, right, Xander?
Yep.
Yep. So if you're cutting a wet vegetable like a piece of celery or a potato, you'll start to see it stick and stack up on the knife, and that can cause some problems. And out of personal preference, a lot of people choose to have the scalloped edge on a knife to help clear their knife blade while they're cutting. So Xander's blade is made of nylon. It's hard plastic, but it has a blunted tip. can't hurt myself every time I do this. And the edge, although it has the serration on it and it is definitely sharp, it's still not sharp enough that I can cut myself. So very good to have in a kitchen that you're working with kids. And in the next couple of videos, you're actually going to see Xander in action with this knife in his hand, just like this. Perfect. And that's a great point. The safest and frankly only way to hold a knife is exactly what Xander's doing. So he took the knife and took his fingers, he took his thumb and his pointer finger, and he grabbed one side of the blade with the thumb, the other side of the blade he pinched down with his pointer finger. The rest of the fingers, the last 3 fingers, hold that blade. And that is the way that chefs hold a knife. So when you are down on a cutting board, you have complete control over that, just like what he's doing right there. You'll see a lot of times people, and it bugs me, that on the Food Network, they'll have their pointer finger up here on the top of the knife. That is the quickest way to cut yourself. This gives you no support. That wobbles all day long, but when you have your thumb and your pointer finger on that blade, you are in complete control of it. Now, his other hand wasn't just lollygagging over there. What was it doing? His hand was in a C grip. Now, that keeps all 5 of those fingers in perfect place, so that way they do not get cut by this. Now, that C grip keeps your thumb in jail, right? So that doesn't get cut. And once you have that grip perfect, and we'll show you more as we go through this, that knife will actually rest up against your fingers, and your fingertips are curled in underneath, so that way they never get cut. Every time that knife slides by, it's not cutting anything but the vegetable you want it to. That C grip and that thumb and finger grip on that knife will keep you safe to a point where you'll be so comfortable that you can do it with your eyes closed. So, Xander's knife, made of nylon. My knives, made of stainless steel. I like stainless steel knives because they're easy to take care of. They're easy to clean. They don't rust. They hold an edge really well once you get one on. There are all sorts of other types of knife materials. Carbon steel is this, I think, the second most popular, but it is one that rusts. So at home, I don't want rust on a knife, do you?
No.
Thankfully, yours won't rust because it's made of plastic. But
impossible for it to rust.
Impossible, exactly. In order to keep them sharp, we use a diamond steel. It's a metal shaft here that's coated with diamond dust. Sounds expensive, but it's not really. But diamonds are harder than steel. So when you're running your blade up against that edge, that is honing your knife. That blade, under a microscope, when it starts to get dull, it's usually like this when it's sharp, but it's actually curled over through use. What the steel does is when you run it up against it, it straightens that edge up, so it's nice and sharp. But if you drop your knife, if you nick it on a bone, or you just don't take care of it for forever, you can also use a whetstone. Whetstones look something like this. This is actually a Sharpen brand whetstone. You can find it on Amazon. It's not really expensive at all. It's got 2 different grits on it. You soak it in water. Once it's completely wet, then you're running your knife along it, and that will help keep taking little bits of metal off to put a whole new edge on your blade. Keep it really, really nice and sharp. So I know that was a lot in a short amount of time, but in the next videos as we go through this, again, we're building a library, right? How big of a library?
Big.
A big library. We're building a big library of content that will keep hitting on these types of things. But the big takeaways that you should have from this are what each of these knives are. The 4 big ones are the chef knife, the boning knife, the paring knife, and the serrated knife. A little bit of a nylon knife if you're working with kids. A sharp knife is a safe knife. You should always keep your knives sharp, so that way they cut through your vegetables every single time the way you want them to, and they don't slip. That you hold your knife with your thumb and your finger, and you have a C grip with your other ones. Lastly, is that the knives do not have to be expensive, and they don't have to be fancy. Every chef has a brand that they like. I prefer Forstner because they're inexpensive and easy to replace. I also like to have globals because they fit my hand really well. Xander likes the nylon knife because it won't hurt him and it fits his hand really well. So it's all up to you. If you want a longer knife or a shorter knife, a Global, a Schoon, a Henkel's, a whatever it is that you like. I'm not as picky on that. And again, I like knives that are inexpensive but do the trick. Because when you have a good sharp knife, it won't matter what brand you have. It's all about your talent and your skill. So that's a really quick intro to the knives that we use. And we can't wait to show you more in the next videos. If you haven't met us yet, go ahead and watch the next video that's going to show up on the screen there for you. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.